I'm George Newhouse. I'm a director of the National Justice Project, and we've been involved, well, for many years, but at least the last 2 years, in running strategic litigation, which has really led to the children being evacuated from Nauru. Now, we started these cases, these line of cases, about 2 years ago. We had a theory that the Australian government had a duty of care to asylum seekers and refugees in offshore detention. But it was a very difficult area, and no one was certain where the law actually fell, because these individuals were outside of Australia and outside of our normal jurisdiction. We had a case that came to us late one afternoon, a shocking case of an African woman, a young African woman who'd had a fit and was raped while she was unconscious and became pregnant as a result of that rape. She was transferred from Nauru to Port Moresby for a termination, which would have been quite dangerous in her state and probably illegal. So she had the good sense to contact us. We'd been in touch because she was an interpreter. And by the next morning, a team of lawyers and doctors had got together, put a case together, and we were in the High Court. So that case really broke the issue of whether the Australian government has a duty of care to asylum seekers offshore. We were successful in bringing her to Australia for a safe and lawful termination. Since then, we've run a series of cases for children. Now, the situation of children on Nauru has really deteriorated. They've been there for 5 years, most of their lives actually, and after the failure of the American government to take them, they really spiraled downward into despondency and into a resignation syndrome. It's a psychiatrically diagnosable illness. And some were so sick that when they came to Australia, they needed to be taken by ambulance straight to hospital because of organ failure. Now, what we've seen since these cases is doctors, nurses, politicians coming on board and recognising that what's going on is scandalous. So I think, in answer to your question, what you've seen is strategic litigation with effective advocacy leading to a breakthrough in the way that these children are treated. And it shouldn't have taken judges to bring a child to safety.
You talked, the room discussed the whole question of ethical, legal, practical ways that health professionals can act. And there is a debate over whether or not doctors should be part of that detention centre or detention system, whether they're actually propping it up. And I know you and Louise Newman have differed on that. You said their role as whistleblowers has been crucial. Could you expand on that?
Well, look, it really is a vexed issue, and I don't have, it's not a black and white position, but I can tell you that the lives of children and adults have been saved by good people within the system, writing notes, writing reports, pleading for help, or even whistleblowing to ensure that the information got out to the public so that individuals' lives could be saved. Now, it shouldn't come to that. It should not come to that. Our government has an ethical and moral duty and a legal duty to care for these individuals and not put doctors in this invidious position where they have to consider whether their reputation, their job, and even their liberty is worth risking to advocate for their patients. And it's an invidious position, and I don't wish it on anyone, but there were some very, very good people. And as Louise says, they ultimately leave the system, and I think that's true. But in the time that they were there, they did create change. Now, they shouldn't be put in that position. The individuals on Nauru and Manus should be evacuated. They should be taken to third countries, or if they can't be taken to third countries, then they should be settled here in Australia.
We talked also in the room about this, that there was this real sense of a tipping point developing now, and yes. That and we're also seeing Dr. Kerryn Phelps put legislation to Parliament next week.
Yes.
Do you feel hopeful of the political environment now, and can you place that in the context too of what is happening in Nauru at the moment, because we know MSF has had to leave, and I think it was you who said that there's actually no NGO at the moment operating to provide that protection there.
Well, I am very concerned about individuals in Nauru, and I can tell you that the Nauru government, from a number of court cases and the way they've conducted themselves with MSF, have no respect for the safety of these poor individuals or the rule of law. And that's a very serious issue. Our government's put men, women and children essentially in harm's way, with a government over there who don't really appear to care for them at all. And I think it's a precarious position. Now, I don't know the situation on Nauru in terms of whether there may be an NGO or not, but there's definitely no one on the island who's providing the level of mental health care that MSF were providing, not just to refugees or asylum seekers, but also to Nauruans. I mean, this is the cruelty of what the Nauruan government's done. They've actually cut their own people off from mental health care. We know that there's no paediatric inpatient mental health facility on Nauru. There's just a lack of medical care there, and I'm extremely concerned that a child may be harmed there unless they're removed from that island, and adults may well suffer as well.
Will we get a solution to this that is either political or legal? Where is it going to come from?
Well, the law is extremely constrained in this country. We don't have a Bill of Rights. There's no rights in our Constitution. We've been arguing the duty of care argument and trying to, get the weight of public opinion against the government's cruelty towards the individuals. I feel that there has been a shift recently. Australians are saying, we understand your policy on turning the boats back, but they've stopped. You don't need to use individuals as human shields. That's what's happening. The government's saying, oh, we'd love to move the asylum seekers, but we can't because then the boats would come. That theory has been debunked. It's been debunked by public servants who've left the public service and have come out and said, the turn-back policy is keeping boats away from Australia. You do not need to harm men, women and children to keep boats away. And I'm hoping that there will be a shift in the political powers that be that will at least show individuals some compassion and allow them to get on with their lives.
As an advocate and as a litigator, what do you want health professionals and particularly perhaps their peak bodies to do?
Look, we couldn't do our job without health professionals. They are absolutely vital. So at a peak level, they need to speak out about what's going on. If it's cruel, inhumane and torture, they need to state that. If the level of healthcare is substandard, they need to state that. They need to support health workers who are trying to do their job properly by giving them guidelines so that if a health worker wants to advocate for a patient, they can rely on their professional body to back them with a guideline. I also think that they should write to their parliamentarians, demand change, and also if they have some time, write some medico-legal reports for lawyers to assist them to get the appropriate level of care for men, women and children in need.
Fantastic, George. Thank you very much.